All right, welcome back. It's Wednesday, and you know that means Plants and Gardens expert Craig Hignight is joining us live to answer all of your burning questions. Good morning, Craig. And
good morning.
yes, let's go ahead and get started off. And the first question we have here, what's the best way to get rid of Creeping Charlie?
Oh, Creeping Charlie, I prefer the weed-free zone. It takes care of your broadleaf weeds, won't harm your grass, but I was just looking at that 14-day outlook. We've got a long stretch above 80 degrees, and you do not want to be putting any of these chemicals down above 80 degrees. I like 5 days below 80 after the chemical goes down. So keep an eye on the weather.
Yeah, exactly. Something we're going to have to watch there. This is from Denise. I planted my pumpkin seeds late this year and have seen only 2 flowers. Do you think I may get small pumpkins?
It's up to Mother Nature. I hope you were out there doing some hand pollinating. If you should see the pumpkins very shortly after the flower drops off. We've still got about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, so we're just going to keep our fingers crossed.
All right. This one says, I tried to grow 3 different kinds of acorns in pots. Didn't get a single sprout. What did I do wrong?
Acorns?
Yes.
Okay, so many of the acorns that come off the trees are parasitized. There's an insect that burrows in and it eats the germ that would actually make the tree. The important thing is that you plant many acorns and hopefully a certain percentage of them will come up. 3 acorns, not a very good count. I'd go for a dozen or more and just hope that at least 3 or 4 out of the dozen actually survive.
This is a kind of a lengthy one from Rick. He noticed that after the warm winter, he was expecting to find a bumper crop of insects in his garden, but he said, looking back, it seems like all the usual insects varieties were present, but in fewer amounts than what you would normally expect. He was wondering, is that a coincidence that it follows the story of what we're talking about, the butterfly population being lower? Is this normal for this kind of season that we had this year?
Well, I'm like you. I was expecting a major outbreak of insects this year. Not even the Japanese beetles seem to be as bad this year. So, it's Mother Nature. You can't outguess Mother Nature, and you can't outguess the weather. So, we'll take our wins where we get them.
Yeah. All right, this one says, do you know what the tiny white bugs are that can get through the screens on the windows? They are all over my Bittendorf neighborhood, this one says.
Well, it could be that you're dealing with some white fly. Now, white fly is not native to the Midwest. They die off every winter because of the cold weather, but they always get shipped up from Florida when the plants start coming in the spring. So possibly you are looking at some white fly. Keep an eye peeled if you see them on your plants. And that's one thing I wanted to say. This is the time that we need to be doing some pest control on those plants that we've got outside. We've got a few weeks to get them cleaned up before we bring them back in. So let's start scouting for those pesky insects before we bring our plants in.
Judy asks, what could be eating my rhubarb leaves?
Oh, could be any number of things. We're far enough into the season. I'm sure we've got a bumper crop of slugs still out there. This late in the season, rhubarb has pretty well done what it's going to do. We've got about another month to go ahead and have the plant put food down into the roots, but at this stage of the season, I'd be hard pressed to make a good guess at what might be munching on the rhubarb.
All right, this one, let's see. What is the substance that I can add to encourage blooming? Let's see, Andrew, help me out here on azaleas and
azaleas.
Oh, yes, and then the
rhododendron.
Rhododendron.
Yes.
Okay.
And when to add it?
Okay, we're dealing with acid-loving plants here. Remember that they get fertilized in the spring, shortly before they start to grow. I would pull the mulch back, put down, I would use Hollytone. You need an acid reaction fertilizer. These plants like acid fertilizers. Then you put the mulch back, and I want to see about 3 to 4 inches of mulch under azaleas and rhododendrons. They're very shallow rooted, so I would say Hollytone or an acid reaction fertilizer. I like a slow release organic in this case.
All right, Craig. Well, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. Continue to send in your questions on our WQAD Facebook page, and we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back into GMQC at 11. It is Wednesday. That means Craig Hignight, our plant and garden expert, is here answering your questions right now on our Facebook live stream. So we left off with Dennis asking, what can I spray on strawberry plants to kill the weeds?
Unfortunately, nothing. The thing is, if you had grass, you could use over the top. That'll take out grass. But anything that's going to take out broadleaf weeds is going to take out your strawberry plants also. So that's why strawberries are labor intensive to keep the weeds out. If your bed is more than 3 years old, go for your crop next year, and then after the crop, you renovate the bed. You remove most of the strawberries, get rid of all the weeds, and you start from scratch. And you should renovate every 3 to 4 years on a strawberry bed.
All right, this one here says, when is the best time to transplant hibiscus?
Hibiscus, I'm assuming that this is the outdoor perennial hibiscus. We'll wait until spring at this point. As soon as you see new growth coming up in the spring, you can go ahead, lift, get it back in the ground. Of course, your root stimulator. And if you're talking about a tropical hibiscus in a pot, again, I would wait until next spring to go ahead and do that transplanting.
From Sue, is it okay to cut off my peonies now?
It's a little early. You know, we do have another month of food manufacturing to build that crown up for next year. If you can wait until they get nipped by frost, that's the best time to go ahead and clean them up.
We have a Miss Ellen Wilmot lilac shrub that is about 8 feet high. Can I prune it now? If so, how much should it be pruned?
Okay, on a standard lilac like this, remember, we never just flat top. You won't get blooms for about 3 or 4 years if you do that. What you're going to do after bloom next spring, you'll take the tallest stem, follow it down, and cut it off as close to the ground as possible. If it's still too tall, you take stem number 2 that is now the tallest and take it out. Never remove more than about 25% of the whole plant in any 1 year, and you won't have to give up any blooming if you do it this way.
This is from Kathy. If I plant seeds from butterfly weed plants into my garden, will they grow? Is there anything special I need to do?
Well, actually, butterfly weed should be planted now. They need that winter freeze-thaw to vernalize the seeds so that they can grow next year. I would hedge my bet. I would plant half the seed in the garden now, block the area out so you know where they are. The other half of the seed go in a Ziploc bag in the lettuce crisper for the winter, and then they get planted in the spring between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, and the coolness in the refrigerator also helps fertilize the seed so that they can grow next spring.
All right, this one says, can I move rhubarb to a new location this time of year?
It can be done if it's a kill or cure. If it's going to end up under a sidewalk or a patio, just remember, move it with plenty of soil. If it's an old plant, you can do a division. Remember that since you're a homeowner, you can leave at least 3 to 5 buds at the top of the root when you're planting. And remember, work up the new area, use the root stimulator, water them in well, and Mother Nature takes care of the rest.
All right. Thank you so much, as always, Craig, for coming in. And yes, you can always be sure to join our Facebook Live every Wednesday for Craig, and there you can submit your questions. GMQC at 11 returns in just a few moments.